Oh my dear God in heaven. Everybody click the comment, go watch the video, read the whole thread. It says that Jaundice here was a little surprised to find out that in the United States of America, slavery isn't abolished. Because when I wrote that in the comment section, he came back and said it definitely is, question mark. And I said, well, have you read the 13th Amendment? Go do that. To which hours later, he comes back. Okay, that's how I know you went and read the amendment. Okay, because it took you hours, okay, to comment. Hours later, you wrote back and you go, ooh, you mean the Emancipation Proclamation? The one that freed all the slaves? And I told you then to keep reading. And you must have gotten to that part where another commenter said on that same thread that there is a loophole that you said, well, it says right here, it reads in the 13th Amendment that only for the punishment of a crime is slavery still legal. To which I said, ding, 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 give him a cookie. He finally read the entire thing. As I stated, slavery is not abolished in the United States of America. And from that comment, Jaundice here, I hope you stretched before you made this big old high sleep, okay, says, oh, okay, so you want criminals who are like convicted of a crime for sent to prison to be free because slavery. No. Please point in any of my writings on that thread where I stated that. You can't because it's not there. Yes, I do believe that criminals, convicted felons, should be in a prison cell. Like the 34-time felon that's sitting in the presidency right now should be in a fucking prison. But nope, he's up there playing president. He's also an adjudicated rapist. He's also a credibly accused over 1 million times over in less than 1% of the Jeffrey Epstein files to be an accused pedophile. But his ass, a 34-time convicted felon, isn't in prison, is he? He's not being used as slave labor. Why is that? I 100% think that all convicted felons should be in prison. I also think that prisons should focus more towards rehabilitation, re-education, things of that sort, and not focus solely on punishment. And no, I certainly do not believe that for-profit prisons should be allowed to use their inmates because they're too fucking lazy to do things like wash their own cars, cut their own grass, which is what a lot of these prisons do, by the way, okay? Most of them in Louisiana, but a lot of these for-profit prisons, yeah, they're having their guys out there doing menial labor. And then they pay them. They pay them a very substandard wage, like $1 or something an hour. That money goes on their commissary, so maybe they can get some stuff. And the way they motivate these prisoners to go out and work so that they can get a little bit of measly for their commissary, they feed them like shit. They feed them substandard food. You know, when you're starving to death, that's a hell of a fucking motivator. And here's another thing. How many of those prisoners that are sitting in prisons right now being used as slave labor to the for-profit prison system, how many of those are wrongfully accused? How many of those are still waiting their trial date? But because they ain't got a shit ton of money, they weren't able to bail themselves out. So they're still waiting. What about them? See, what had happened was you just found out that slavery is still legal in the United States of America for a crime. And that Tangerine Palpatine, the pedophile in chief, is rounding up people who look suspiciously like the person in your picture and calling them criminals. So now they have slave labor. Anyway, the more you know. Learn to respect your elders, young man.